Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are just about to start. Looks like we've got a great group today. And I know we've got the Summer Institute that's happening in Bozeman today through Friday. We've got a great agenda. Very pleased to open the session yesterday. And JP, under your leadership and the great teamwork that we've got, we are just sharing so many good things about what's happening at the Office of Public Instruction. So we've got the agenda up. Let's just go ahead and begin. Wendy?
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I think I need to be given permission, Brian, if you're able to. Try again. There we go. Thank you. So I wanted to start by saying thank you so much for the new employee that we have coming on board. Allison is going to be with our team, and she's going to be interfacing with a lot of the schools as we move into the broadband discussion again to try and help districts utilize the funds which will be coming into our state at about 300 to 700 million. So she's going to be reaching out to the schools and different entities to help utilize those funds and braid them with ESSER funding as well. So look forward to having her on board fully and connecting with all of you. I did want to share a couple of changes we're making to our website. We have this wonderful countdown that is going on that is showing how the ESSER 2 is being articulated and how we're spending down the funds. So it does show how many days left we have for the ESSER 2 funding. ESSER 3 won't expend until next year. On the broadband side, I also wanted to highlight this affordable connectivity program. Again, that is something in our state that's available right now for families to be able to utilize the internet and to get some discounts for that. It is a $30 to $75 a month discount, much like the old Lifeline AT&T type subsidy that was given to people. So just kind of highlighting that it's on our ESSER site. It's available to across the state, and we still have funds that are available in that pocket. Wanted to highlight that. And then lastly, just wanted to again update on this report that we put out monthly. And this shows the balances that each entity has, both at a high level. So this is showing the ESSER 1, 2, and 3, where they were allocated, the spend down that's accounting, and then the balance. But then you also have the ability to just search within this large document for a particular school district. So you can just go through and find out how much were they allocated, expended, and what the balance is. Do keep in mind that this report is on a monthly view back. And so if there are cash requests that are open right now, those may not be reflected in the actual balances that are showing up here. Lastly, I did just want to highlight that we have a couple of items that are coming up on the expended and expanded learning opportunity side for the summer enrichment programs. That is a grant that is currently open. We've had some really good interest in that and shoring up and looking at math and literacy. So if you know of entities who are still interested in that, we'll be opening that up again for a third cycle next week. And you're welcome to apply for that. If you have any questions, reach out to either Rebecca or I for a walkthrough on that. We'll be glad to do that. And last but not least, moving into the fall or toward the end of summer, we will be starting our guidance sessions again, kicking off with, like we did last year, a conference in August. And that'll be highlighting a lot of different fiscal opportunities and training that we will have available through the Office of Public Instruction, and focusing some on ESSER, but also title, and kind of blending that all together into a conference session. So just wanted to help everybody be aware of those opportunities. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you, Wendy. Just want a couple things within this. 100 days is pretty much what we have left remaining for ESSER 2. And ESSER 2, of course, had a lot of different flexibilities than ESSER 1 did. And knowing then that we have another bucket that needs to be completed a year from end of September of next year. So really great customer service. Wendy and her team is here to help in any manner, shape, or form. And then the recognition of broadband. ESSER does have the affordability to use that, but if there are dollars coming into Montana from congressional action, we want to make sure that the broadband dollars are spent toward broadband. And ESSER dollars then can be used for any tool to enhance the broadband usage. So lots of discussions with our team, OPI, with our schools. The other part is a self-monitoring tool. That means, of course, we are held accountable for all of these 0.6 billion COVID-related dollars. But in Montana, with local accountability, knowing our school districts are the ones. So Wendy's got a great team around her at the OPI, but also brought together a review committee of about 17 different entities across our state to really recognize the capacity at the school level of what self-monitoring looks like, as well as being accountable. So any questions for Wendy? She's on our website. You can definitely get her. And just as a side note, Mr. and Mrs. Harper, the wedding and everything went so well last month. So congratulations that you survived, Wendy.
I didn't think anything was more complicated than ESSER, but I think weddings are.
Weddings are part of family for sure. Thank
They
you,
are.
Wendy, and thank you, team. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Cedar, we're here with an an assessment update as our school doors are closing. Our windows for testing also closed on the federally mandated test. That's part of Every Student Succeed Act. So we are lawful, we fulfilled it, and give us just some high points of it. Morning, Cedar.
Good morning. Thank you for that, Superintendent. So like Superintendent Arntzen said, my name is Cedar Rose. I'm the State Assessment Director. I'm going to share with you a quick update about our completion rates for the 2020-23 school year. And then also give you a preview of what we are doing in the summertime. And then we also have posted our 2023-24 statewide assessment calendar for next year as well. So just like Superintendent Arntzen said, as we wrap up, it's really the summertime as a wrap up and then look forward to getting prepared for what's to come. So before I begin with our completion updates, I just want to give an update of what's been happening with our assessment team this month. June has been a really busy month. On June 8th and 6th, we held our Montana Summer Technical Advisory Committee meeting with a mix of local and national assessment experts, 2 extremely productive days, and that helped guide with our upcoming peer review submission that's happening at the end of the month. So at the end of the month, we'll submit peer review on our math, our reading, and our English language proficiency assessment. So that'll be a really great time to wrap that up, and then we're looking forward to submitting for our science assessments at the end of December. So still a lot of peer review work to go. So our final assessment window closed on May 26th. We are now moving into the data reconciliation process. So that's looking at our testing incidents, our non-participation. And today I'm going to share with you our preliminary completion rates, as those still need to be cleaned up before we get those out for public access in the fall. So as I share these completion rates, please note that data is from the end of the testing window, and we still have to do some data reconciliation. So by the time these get posted, there may be some slight changes. So we'll get started with the assessment that most of us know about it and are very familiar, our Smarter Balance. So this year we had about 67,000 3rd through 8th graders eligible for the Smarter Balance assessment and just under 66,000 tested. So that is a 98.5% preliminary completion rate. Which is a really solid number. Last year we were at 97.5. And just a reminder for Smarter Balance completion, that has 3 tests within it. So students have to take the ELA CAT, the math CAT, and then the math performance task as well. So really happy with the completion rates for our Smarter Balance. You can see it's broken down by grade level there. We'll move on to our Montana Science Assessment, and just a reminder on the Montana Science Assessment. That's for our 5th and our 8th graders. It has the same testing window as our Smarter Balance assessment. So that also closed on May 26th. About 22,500 students were registered for the Montana Science Assessment and just under 22,000 students completed. So that's a 98% completion rate, which we're really happy about. And that's just above our 97% completion rate for last year. And so once again, it's broken down by our 5th and our 8th graders. We'll move on to our alternate assessments now. So our MSAA, which is our alternate math and our reading assessment. So that is given to 3rd through 8th and 11th graders. This year there's a total of, so for tests for this, there are 2 tests for it. So we're going to look at overall tests instead of that individual student. So out of a total of 1,768 tests, there were only 74 tests that were not started this year. And then we had 128 tests that were stopped before the completion. So this could be the early stopping rule that we use, or any other reason they were paused and not resumed. Our preliminary completion rates for MSAA is 95.8%, which is historically the highest participation rate we have had. So really excited about that. Our team did a lot of outreach to the field to make sure that they were aware of testing, where they were, and at the state level. So we're really excited about that, for that such a high completion rate. We're going to move on to our AMSA, or our alternate Montana Science Assessment. So this is taken in 3rd, 8th, and 11th grade. So 130 or 350 total students were eligible for that. And then 292 tests were started, and only 2 of those were closed without completing. So that's about an 82% completion rate. It's similar to next year. This is something that we're going to continuously look at to support the field, and how to make sure that they're aware of that assessment, that they're completing that assessment at a high rate. So it really gives us some direction of where we're going to go to next. And then we'll finish up our assessment completion with our ACT with writing. So as of June 1st, about 93% of students that were registered for the ACT had those tests scored. So ACT will continue to score tests, and we expect this number to go up. And we should have those final completion rates later on this month as we go through that data reconciliation. So compared to that June 1 of last year, we were up about 7%, and that's due to that online format that we moved to. So the online tests were received and scored by ACT much quicker than the paper tests. So we're going to see a higher completion rate earlier. At this time, any tests that have not been scored are likely due to have some issue that ACT is currently resolving or researching. So it could be due to possible test irregularities that they're looking into. And there may be a few other students with accommodations that are still getting those paper tests scored. So, and just a reminder, these are completions, not participation. So while 93% is above last year's reported completion, we have not finished up with that data cleanup. So we'll have those final numbers after that process. I'm going to wrap up today with just letting you know that the 2023-24 school year testing windows are now posted on the Montcast website. They're also linked in this presentation if you click on that hyperlink at the top. Very similar to last year, both of our alternate assessments have that 7-week testing window. Our access for ELLs, our MSA, and our Smarter Balance is that 12-week window. And then you'll also notice our math windows are also included on this year's assessments. And you can take a peek at those. So while the assessment team is excited to wrap up, we're looking forward to a busy summer of looking at last year's data and then getting prepared for the upcoming year. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Cedar. And again, after our gathering today, all of these screenshots and everything will be sent out to you. And if you have any questions, please reach to us. If you'll see also, we had on the screen our alternative test. And we're very excited there. We're still waiting for a yes from the federal government, from the Department of Education, to give us that opportunity to waive the summative test at the end as we then proceed in our second year. And we're accelerating it from 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. We are testing math and reading this coming year. Very, very pleased. We have had great success in signing up our districts for this, but we have not received the waiver, and very pleased that our congressional offices and senators have written letters of support, as well as our governor. I want to say we're very grateful for that, and hopeful that the federal government will say yes to Montana. We are one of 10 states that is in an alternative testing mode. And of course, Montana is leading the way in that. So let's continue on the discussion with the nation's report card. This is Chantel. Please lead to us about the NAEP. And Chantel, if you'd unmute yourself, we've got you. There we
Can you
go.
hear me now?
Of course we can.
I'm so sorry about that. Good. Thank you for your patience. So thank you for having me today. So I'm here to share with you about the NAEP program. My job here at OPI, I am the NAEP state coordinator. So here's the agenda for my presentation. We'll discuss NAEP's long-term plan and then the NAEP 2024 program. The long-term plan is to transition to a model in which NAEP is administered via school equipment and internet, reduce field staff. School staff may be asked to administer students needing a separate location due to the reduction of field staff. You'll notice some of the changes in NAEP 2024 administration. So let's talk about NAEP 2024. The NAEP 2024 program will include digitally based assessments in mathematics, reading assessments at grades 4, 8, and 12, and science at grade 8 from January 29th to March 8th, 2024, and will take about 120 minutes. This year's program will continue the use of Surface Pros and Chromebooks, along with the school's internet. If internet is unavailable, then the NAEP field staff will provide internet for NAEP devices. The NAEP sample was received on May 15th and has 245 schools in Montana. NAEP selected schools will be notified shortly to get the assessment date on the upcoming school year's calendar. Here's a breakdown of our sample. Maine indicates mathematics and reading for grades 4 and 8 with state and national results. Pilot will have no results released. One school is selected to participate in grade 8 mathematics, reading, and science. On April 10th, state chiefs received a letter from Peggy Carr at National Center for Education Statistics, NCES. Under ESSA, states applying for Title I funds must comply with all requirements of ESSA, including participation in NAEP mathematics and reading assessments at grades 4 and 8. A state agrees to participate in all phases of assessment as pre-testing phases of the operational NAEP 2024 assessment and the NAEP 2024 field trial are required components of NAEP participation. The expectation is that if schools are selected, they will participate. What questions do you have about NAEP's long-term plan or NAEP 2024 program?
Thank you, Chantel.
Can I sneak in one more slide here? So I'd like
Of course.
everyone to know, thank you, that NAEP is hiring. So NAEP is hiring short-term workers to conduct assessments between January 29th and March 8th, 2024. This opportunity is ideal for retired teachers, counselors, and administrators who would like to work with a team to proctor digitally based assessment with 4th, 8th, and 12th grade students. Workers must be available for online and in-person training during the month of January 2024 and be able to proctor between January 25th and March 12th, 2024 on weekdays during school hours when work is available. NAEP offers paid training, hourly wages paid weekly, and mileage reimbursement for local driving. This is a part-time temporary position. Please help spread information among the educational community to bring forth some great possibilities of the upcoming NAEP assessment. And I'll put the link into the survey or to the chat in just a moment. So thank you.
Thank you, Chantel. Everybody, we all know that NAEP is the nation's report card, and there's been a lot of discussion and swirl around what occurred during the pandemic and what does that mean. And the federal government has coined the term learning loss. Our team here at the Office of Public Instruction, I think, can all agree there was learning disruption, but a lot of our schools stayed open. It was just an inconsistent opportunity of learning at that point, as adults also were not able to be in their classrooms, and families may have had some challenges with the pandemic. So very proud of Montana. Chantel, thank you very much for this presentation. Very, very professional. Appreciate you. So let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go. We've got some great opportunities that are here. So Patrick, you're going to share with us about a safety grant.
Yes, thank you, Superintendent. Let me get my screen cast here. All right. First thing we're talking about is the COPS grant, or the excuse me, Community Policing Services. Sorry, choking up here to start. This one focuses on preventing the acts of targeted violence in Montana schools and strengthening those resources for the schools to help with that. The grant was awarded back in December of 21. And it expires here in September of 24, but most likely there will be a no-cost extension for that as well. The grant award was $324,000. Out of that, OPI matched with $108,000, and it requires a 25% match from the local schools applying for that. It kind of breaks it out into three areas: the Tier 1 universal approaches, focusing on creating those positive school climates for the students, strengthening those social skills, especially focused on forming those positive relationships with each other and getting that connection to the school that we know is so important. Tier 2 is focused on providing training to law enforcement, including our SROs, and how to prevent the school violence in sports. And then Tier 3, responding to the acts of violence before they occur. In 2023 and 2024, we will provide training and best practice recommendations for school to work with law enforcement to prepare to respond to these types of situations. Here's a little bit of a breakdown of the grant, how it is broken out for the funding. The covers the salary and benefits for a position at OPI to run this, the travel for that school safety manager, and then the subawards to the LEAs for the purpose of training law enforcement, $53,000, and then contract with the Montana Safe School Center to provide to get us the creation of that content and provide 6 regional trainings to our SROs and law enforcement, and then provide 8 threat assessment trainings. And then finally contract with iChamps to create a virtual learning module on how to prevent school violence. All those signs that we try and look for early on and intervene early before we get to that point. All right, at this point, we'll turn it over to Michelle Cusey is on here as well. Cusey is on here for the 21st century piece. Michelle, I can see my presentation up if you want to talk, and I'll just keep going.
That would be perfect. Thank you. So I am the 21st Century Program Director. And so 21st Century is a Title IV Part B grant. We award between $70,000 and $250,000 a year for up to 5 years. The purpose of the 21st Century grant is to support students and families in the after school or out of school time. And so we really focus on supporting what is happening in the regular school day, and then all the fun things like music and arts, health and wellness, Some of those things that the schools might not be able to provide, we can provide in the after school world. Next slide. So for the first 3 years of our grants, grantees are awarded the full amount. And then in years 4 and 5, the amounts decrease. This is to really focus on sustainability. Many of our grantees have had this grant since it started in 2005. And so our new model is hopefully helping our grantees figure out other ways that they can support their out of school time programming without relying on 21st Century funding. 21st Century is a highly competitive grant, and we've had quite a few schools lose the grant, and therefore their after school program is no longer able to run. And so we're now trying to support those programs in their sustainability plan. We just completed a competition, and so we have, if you go to the next slide, I believe our grantees are on that one. We have 3 brand new grantees this year, starting July 1st. Townsend is brand new, Troy Elementary is brand new, and then we have a Boys and Girls Club that was awarded in Richland County, which is in Sydney. Next slide. So now I'll jump into Stronger Connections, which is Title IV Part A. This is also a competitive grant, and this grant just was awarded to the Office of Public Instruction June of 2022, and that grant actually closes today at 4 o'clock. Applicants that didn't hit the 40% poverty numbers are allowed to now apply in this current cycle. If they already submitted an application and they didn't hit that 40% poverty number, they don't have to resubmit. We're honoring that application. We have about $4.8 million to award out. In the first round of the application process, we only had about $2 million asked for. So that is why we opened it up for additional applicants to apply. Next slide. So for the Stronger Connections grant, districts have to have a high need in 2 or more of the following, and I won't read those to you, but we're really focusing on what the schools need. What areas do they identify of having a high need, and how can they use these funds to support that need? Paige is the Title IV AA director, and she is also helping with the Stronger Connections grant. I'm helping her kind of learn how to run a competition. So if you have any questions, you can contact Paige or myself, and we are happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Michelle and Patrick, both of you. We can keep that slide up there, Patrick. The Stronger Connections grant was awarded to Montana, and we are just completing the second round of it. So if only 2 million was requested and asked for, and we have 2.8, we are really asking for help. If you know of any school district, if you have anybody that would like to look to see about how we could help a community grant, how we can work on that whole child approach within the Stronger Connections grant. The safety grant, as Patrick has said, has been around since 2005. Really pleased then that we began a safety unit here in partnership with the University of Montana to help us really understand what does it mean within our brick and mortar schools to keep our children safe. But very much appreciate the discussion, Patrick and Michelle, on your leadership with this. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll move it over to Jenna McKinney. She is our family engagement person that is aiding us in getting the word out on what it is in that partnership that we can lead our families and our schools and our communities. Jenna.
Good morning, everyone. So with school being out, I'm still getting, well, actually it's out for some, not for others. Still getting a lot of engagement with families and community members. I view my role more as community engagement, but do connect with a lot of parents. Since the legislative session has ended. Some of the questions we're getting are regarding the legislation and how it affects going forward in public ed. So with that in mind, we have added, I'll show you here to the website, parents resource section. And we're going to be doing a monthly rollout of education that will be top of mind for community members and families. Starting tomorrow night, June 21st, that'll be our first community engagement. We're going to cover the charter bills that were passed in this session. Our Chief Legal Counsel, Rob, will be facilitating, just sharing the general overview of the bill and how it will impact for the public. And so it will look like this in the presentation. And then this is the agenda for the meeting. These will be out there every month for you or anybody who's interested to join these meetings that are open to the public. Of course, in July, we're going to be covering the obscenity bill notification requirements, religious freedom legislation that passed, and how those interrelate with public ed, what that means, just so the public has an idea of what to expect going into the next school year. This is the link to join the meeting. So if any of you are interested in participating, you can go there tomorrow night at 7 o'clock and join. This page will be developed further as time goes on, but right now that's the focus that we will be adding to it. And so please feel free to go browse.
Thank you, Jenna. Any questions? We are also going to have a new employee brought forward by JP Williams, our Director of Special Ed. And this will be a family engagement specifically around IEP process, making sure that schools, families, all working toward the enrichment of the student in education and well-being. And that will be rolling out. And so with our next Education Advocate next month, more of that discussion will also occur so that we can all work toward making sure that our children are the focus as we put our Montana students first. Does anyone have any questions or anything else to share on this? Be more than happy to at this time.
Superintendent, this is Steve White, and I've got a question on what was just presented. And one of those charter school bills is in litigation, and I didn't know how far along it is and how you're going to, I guess, address that when you do the public discussions on it. So I'm just kind of unclear as to where that's even at in the process, because I know it's probably going to, doesn't it start up July 1st, and then are they going to put a hold on it, or how's that work?
Thank you so much, Steve. You're spot on. Yes, the start date for the bill is July 1 at our state fiscal. And the plaintiffs are hoping for an injunction to stop any of the legislation moving forward. This was in the works prior to us even receiving anything from the court of last Wednesday. It's my understanding that as our chief legal, these are legislative matters, is leading this discussion. He's going to do a side-by-side comparison. There will be a Q&A on what type of students, all students, the money flow, what time frame might look like as a comparison between both of those bills that are going to be into law by July 1. So I appreciate that. I believe we are operating very lawful. The state of Montana is named, the governor is named, I am named by multiple plaintiffs across the state. And of course, by some of our education advocates. And just want to make sure that, we're all in this together, putting our Montana students first. And this is a legal action. But at this point, the meeting tomorrow night will still go forward because the injunction has not happened yet, nor is this something to promote one bill over another. This is just a strict comparison of what legislative action did occur. But thank you for that.
Thank you for that. One last question: Is this a district court a legal issue, or did they go directly to the Supreme Court? I can't remember.
You know, I want to be bold and say that this was district to be able to start it,
Okay.
but I don't have it in front of me, and I want to make sure that it's verified. I just know that it has gone to court. But there's all kinds of processes within any of these things.
Right.
At tomorrow's meeting, we're going to do a side-by-side on what the legislature has left with the charter schools, and full well recognizing that public schools still exists in Montana, and that these two opportunities may be in any community or some communities because of the way that the legislation was put together. But I appreciate that, Steve. And every month then there will be a discussion. We hope to do this throughout the remaining part of the year, just to educate. And I know with your non-public view, would love to have anyone pass this information that's on our website right now, pass this to anyone. And of course, Q&A will also follow, and we'll do our best to make
Well,
sure.
I
that we get
appreciate that. As you know, I'm involved mostly with the homeschool issues, and I wasn't at all engaged in the any of the hearings on the charter school bills, but I do get questions from folks that are just asking me what the status is, and what you just conveyed is pretty much what I'm telling them too. So thank
Exactly.
you very much.
Good to be on the same page.
Yep, thank you.
With that, I just want to say again, we have a lot of energy that's focused in Bozeman at this time, with over 500 teachers and leaders and our great staff at the OPI in many presentations. We have the director of special education from the federal level that is going to be addressing at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and very pleased that that leadership is in our state as we put all of Montana students first. So with that, everyone, blessings, stay well. Thank you.